Hey, welcome to Toon'd In. I'm Josh the Fox Mills, and I'll be reviewing this groovy tune. No matter how new, no matter how old, no matter the cost. I decided this time for Time Month, I'm going to be taking a look back at some happy days to cheer me up. Happy Days. A sitcom about a bunch of 1950s teenagers that ran from 1974 to 1984. Kind of like that 70s show for the 70s. That made sense. In my head, I swear. It really did. Of course, The Adventures of Fonz and the Gang is not a cartoon. Normally. That's where the Hannah-Barbera studios come in. That's right. This cartoon is a Hannah-Barbarian.
Ha! Hoo! Ha!
Wow, I haven't used that in a while. Come back after the credits for Fonz and the Happy Days Gang. In The Fonz and the Happy Days Gang. Fonz and the Happy Days Gang was made in 1980 and ran for 2 seasons with 24 episodes. All the events of this series take place between Season 2 and Season 3 of the original series. How were they able to cram all this adventure during that time? Why, time travel, of course!
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, I had to use some Doctor Who clips in here. You may not have noticed, but I'm kind of a fan. This was originally going to be an attempt by Hannah-Barbera to create an animated Doctor Who series. But when they were unable to get the rights from the BBC, Hannah-Barbera got a hold of the crew of the Happy Days instead. Did they rewrite the series to make sense with the new property? Of course not. Instead, the Fonz, Richie Cunningham, Ralph Mouth, found a broken down time machine along with a girl from the future named Cupcake. Her name is Cupcake. I'm gonna let that sink in for a moment. Also joining the cast is Mr. Cool, a talking dog who's supposedly owned by the Fonz, but he's never seen before or after this series.
Yeah, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
Oh, the roles of Richie, Ralph, and Arthur Fonzarelli are voiced by their original actors from the live-action series. So that's a point in their favor, I suppose.
He was Ralph on Happy Days. Donnie most, Donnie most. Now he rises from the haze.
Actually, it's Don Most now.
The title sequence was narrated by the legendary radio personality Wolfman Jack, who was popular in the 70s. Here's a little bit of Wolfman in the title sequence.
Oh, now the gang got zapped into that time machine and they're like traveling through time.
As opposed to traveling to Cleveland in a time machine. Anyway, back to the plot. The gang found the broken time machine alongside Cupcake, and with the magic elbow of the Fonz, the time machine gets to working again, and flings them all throughout history. They then kind of quantum leap around, having adventures and hoping that their next jump will be the jump home. They are trying to get back to 1957 Milwaukee. I'm not sure it's worth all the trouble. It's Milwaukee. I'd like to apologize to anyone in the audience from Milwaukee. I often say things I don't mean. Please don't hit me! Oh, the Cupcake is not only from the future, but she's magic too. That makes sense, right? I guess they invented magic in the future. Whatever. You know, a lot of this craziness actually fits Happy Days really well. It was the series that invented the phrase jumping the shark. Almost every episode involved meeting a historical figure and solving a problem. Well, I guess if they ever break time with their antics, the Fonz can just jam it with his elbow and fix it. Speaking of time, it's time for my final thoughts. Yeah, I know I don't have a watch.
What does the fox say?
I didn't see the show until I was researching for this episode, but let me tell you, I can tell that it was supposed to be a Doctor Who show. There are so many parallels. The time machine itself even feels like the TARDIS, with a center console and the whole thing being bigger on the inside. The Hannah-Barbera comedy feel is certainly present, but that's an acquired taste. If you're a fan of the Hannah-Barbera Toon'd, Happy Days, or time-traveling science fiction, you might actually like this tune. Next week, I'll take a look at a police force who enforce our past to protect our future. And yes, next week, we take a look at the Time Squad. Until then, stay tuned.